Once upon a time, in a small, dusty village called Izuware, there was a boy named Tay, but this was not an ordinary boy. No, no, no. Tay was like a hungry tiger in a school full of chickens. Everybody feared him. The students feared him. The teachers feared him. Even the principal feared him. Tay was big for his age. While other boys in JSS 3 were slim and playful, Tay was tall, broad-shouldered with arms like he'd been lifting yam tubers since birth. His eyes were sharp, his face was hard, and he never smiled unless it was before a fight. If you saw Tay coming, you moved out of the way. If you sat beside him, you didn't dare talk too much. Nobody wanted to be on his bad side, because Tay didn't forgive and he didn't forget. Tay was older than most of the students, much older. While others were 14 or 15, Tay was already 19. He had repeated classes 4 times, but he didn't care. People called him Baba Tay because he was like a father among children, but he didn't act like one. He came to school when he wanted. He left when he wanted. He slept in class like he was in his own bedroom. And the worst part, Tay loved trouble. If there was peace, he would scatter it. If there was quiet, he would bring noise. If you looked at him the wrong way, bam, you might find yourself eating sand. One hot Monday morning, Tay strolled into school 2 hours late, chewing roasted corn and whistling. The other students were already in class. At the school gate stood Senior Bello, one of the most feared prefects in Ijuware Community School. Bello was tall, muscular, and famous for punishing juniors without mercy. He spotted Tay and frowned. "Tay, why are you just coming?" Bello barked. Taye took a slow bite of his corn and didn't answer. "I'm talking to you," Bello shouted, raising his cane. "Go and kneel down now." Tay looked at him, his eyes cold. "I'm not your mate," he said. The students nearby froze. Nobody had ever spoken to Bello like that. Bello's nostrils flared. "You think you're stubborn? I will show you pepper." Swoosh. The cane landed on Tay's back. Swoosh. Again. Some students whispered urgently, "Senior Bello, leave him. That's Tay. Don't do it." But Bello only laughed. Let him do his worst. When the closing bell rang, students hurried home. But Tay didn't leave. He leaned on the wall near the gate, waiting. Bello came out with his friends, laughing. "That boy thought he was stubborn. I taught him sense." Before he could finish, a shadow stepped out. Taye. Without warning, Tay grabbed Bello by the collar and dragged him behind the school's abandoned toilet block. Bam! He punched him in the face. Wham! He kneed him in the stomach. Bello tried to block, but Tay was too fast. He threw him to the ground, sat on his chest, and rained punches like heavy rain on a zinc roof. Then, to humiliate him further, Tay grabbed Bello's cane, snapped it in half, and threw the pieces in his face. When Tay finally let him go, Bello could barely stand. The next day, his lips were swollen, one eye was purple, and he didn't say a word. From that day, no prefect dared to touch Tay. Months passed. Tay ruled the school. But one afternoon, during agricultural science, Mr. Aluko, a strict teacher known for his discipline, caught Tay sleeping in class. "Tay, stand up." Tay opened one eye. "For what are you talking back to me?" Tay yawned. "You're disturbing my sleep." Gasps filled the room. Nobody ever spoke to Mr. Aluko like that. Mr. Aluko's face turned red. "Out now." Tay stood, picked up his chair, and instead of leaving, bam, he dropped the chair loudly on the floor. The teacher marched towards him, ready to drag him out. Big mistake. Tay sidestepped, grabbed his arm, twisted it, and flung the teacher into the chalkboard. The chalkboard cracked. The class screamed. Before other teachers could rush in, Tay had already walked out, whistling like nothing happened. People saw Tay as a monster, but nobody knew his home was worse than a war zone. His father was a fisherman who drank his profit before he got home. His mother sold food at the market, but she was loud, aggressive, and fought with his father every night. Plates broke, chairs shattered. Sometimes Tay's father would chase his mother with a cutlass. Sometimes his mother would grab a pestle and chase him back. There was no love in Tay's house, no kindness, only survival. By age 10, Tay had learned to fight. By age 12, he could beat boys older than him. By 14, he was feared in the whole village. School was just another battleground. One day, the principal, Mr. Ogundel, decided he'd had enough. During assembly, he called Tay forward. He said, "You are hereby expelled from this school." The students gasped. Some cheered, but Tay smiled. "Come and remove me yourself." The principal marched forward, grabbed his arm, and that was the last mistake he made that day. Bam! Tay punched him straight in the nose. Blood poured. The principal staggered, slipped, and fell flat. Chaos erupted. Students screamed. Teachers froze. By the next day, 5 teachers had resigned. Finally, 4 male teachers, the strongest in the school, decided to handle Tay. They marched into his classroom with canes, ready to finish him. Within 3 minutes, all 4 were on the floor groaning, chairs broken, blood on the tiles. Tay returned to his seat, dusting his hands. Everything changed when a team of military cadets visited the school for training. One of them, Corporal Dyke, spotted Tay strolling. During the national anthem, "Stand still and salute," Dyke barked. Tay smirked. "I don't salute anybody." Gasps, whispers. Dyke marched up to him. "Apologize now." And then, in the moment that shocked the whole school, Tay slapped the soldier. Silence. Dyke's jaw tightened. "Take him to the barracks." They dragged Tay away. At the barracks, he was made to roll in the mud until his clothes were soaked, crawl under barbed wire until his skin bled, carry sandbags until his arms shook, run laps until he collapsed. Day 1, Tay cursed and fought back. Day 2, his voice weakened. Day 3, he could barely move. And then, one of the cadets' corps member, Chuka, a gentle young man, stepped forward. "Sir, please, he's just a boy. Let him go. I believe he can change." The commander frowned. "If he misbehaves again, you'll be responsible." Chuka nodded. They released Tay. He limped out, weaker than ever. Chuka placed a hand on his shoulder. "You can be great, Tay, but you must decide now." Tay looked at him, eyes unreadable. The sun had dipped lower, staining the clouds with streaks of gold and blood red. In the school compound, an unusual stillness settled after the chaos of the morning. Students whispered in corners, casting glances at the staff room where the teachers were huddled. Everyone knew the meeting was about one person. Taye. Inside, the headmaster, Mr. Okonkwo, sat at the center of the room, with his palms pressed together in frustration. "We can't keep pretending," he said, his deep Igbo accent carrying weight. "If we allow that boy to continue, he will destroy this school's reputation." Miss Funk adjusted her glasses nervously. "But he's just a child. A child who fights like a street mercenary," interrupted Mr. Bello, the math teacher, who still had a bruise on his jaw from when he tried to stop Tay last term. "Do you know how many parents have threatened to withdraw their children? Because of him." The headmaster's eyes narrowed. "We will call his guardian today. And if she refuses to come..." He didn't finish the sentence, but the implication was clear. Meanwhile, Tay sat under the mango tree behind the school, sharpening a short stick with a razor blade. A group of junior boys stood around him, laughing nervously at his jokes. "See that chike," Tay said, pointing with the stick toward the football field. "That boy thinks because he can run fast, he can dodge me. But I go show em." One of the boys, a wiry kid named Sunkanim, asked, "Tay, what if the teachers catch you this time?" Tay grinned without looking up. "Catch me, my guy. They can't even catch their own shadow." But inside, his chest felt heavier than usual. The incident with Chike earlier had stirred something in anger, mixed with fear. He wasn't sure. Flashback 4 years ago. Tay was only 9 when his father died in a motor accident on the Lagos-Ibadan expressway. His mother, too overwhelmed with grief, sent him to live with his uncle in the village. Uncle Rafiu was a fisherman by day, a drunk by night, and a man who believed that fear is better than love when raising a boy. Tay learned quickly: never cry, never show weakness, and never back down from a fight. Back in the present, the sound of the assembly bell jolted everyone. A message spread quickly: Tay's guardian has been summoned. By midday, a tall, fierce-looking woman, in a bright yellow wrapper, arrived at the school gates. This was Mama Rafiote's aunt. She walked with the kind of authority that made even the gateman step aside. Without greeting. When she entered the headmaster's office, the tension cracked like a whip. "Good afternoon," she said, her voice cold. "Madam, thank you for coming." Mr. Okonkwo began carefully. "We have serious complaints about Mama Rafu slammed her hand on the desk. "What has he done this time?" "Biting, bullying, threatening teachers, destroying school property." Miss Funk listed them off like charges in a courtroom. Mama Rafu's eyes turned toward the door where Tay stood with a blank face. "Tay," she called slowly, "come here." The boy stepped forward, his chin raised in defiance. "Is it true?" she asked. He didn't answer, just looked at the floor. Mama Rafu took a deep breath. "Headmaster, Give me 1 week. I will handle this boy in my own way. The next morning, Tay came to school late, but this time, he didn't stroll in with his usual swagger. His uniform looked neater, his shoes polished. Yet, the other students could sense the storm still brewing beneath his calm surface. During break, Chaik approached him cautiously. I'm sorry for what I said yesterday. Tay stared at him for a long second, then smirked. You're learning. He didn't hit him, but the unspoken threat hung in the air. What nobody knew was that Tay had overheard a secret the night before, something about a new transfer student coming to St. Andrews, a boy from the city. Rumor had it, he was no ordinary kid. And Tay had already decided, if this boy thought he could take the spotlight from him, he was in for the fight of his life. By Monday morning, word had already spread beyond the school walls. Traders in the market were whispering about the new warrior boy in Okuta Secondary. Some called him Tay the Lion. Others simply said, that boy no get fear at all. Even the local Okada riders discussed him as they ferried passengers. Now wa'o, dem say the boy fit hold 3 prefects for neck like goat, one rider said. Another replied, dem go soon try am with cane. Make we see if ego still roar. Inside the school, tension sat like heavy clouds. The principal, Mr. Oho, was pacing in his office. He had heard the stories, Tay refusing prefect orders, confronting seniors, and even warning the feared bully Fatai not to cross him again. But Mr. Oho was an old lion himself, a man who had once been a military man before turning to education. His reputation for discipline was legendary. Call me that boy, he ordered the secretary. Let's see the kind of lion we have in this school. The messenger came to call Tay. He was standing near the mango tree, surrounded by 3 boys from his street. They were laughing, tossing a small rubber ball, when the messenger whispered, Principal Day call you. The laughter stopped. One of Tay's friends whispered, Oh, Principal no Day call person for play. Na serious waha. Tay's face was calm, but his eyes held something a quiet fire. Make we go see the man, he said, and began walking toward the principal's office. Inside the office, Mr. Oho sat behind his wide wooden desk, hands clasped, eyes sharp like an eagle's. Tay, he said slowly. I hear say you be the new king for this school. Tay didn't answer. Why you day fight? Why you day disturb my prefects? Still, silence. Then Tay spoke softly. I know day fight for play. I day fight when person one pressed me like ground nut. Mr. Oho leaned back. You get mouth, you get hand, but you no get respect. He pointed to the corner. See that cane? Nah, for lion way forget say another lion day. But before he could say more, a sudden shout came from outside. Fight, fight for the backfield. Mr. Oho jumped to his feet. Tay's eyes flickered. He knew the voice. It was Fatai. The 2 of them rushed outside, but Tay broke into a run before the principal could stop him. His slippers slapped the dusty ground as he darted toward the backfield. There, in the middle of a growing crowd, Tay's younger cousin Shola was on the ground, holding his stomach. Fatai stood over him, laughing. You say you get brother Waby Lion. Make E come save you. Fatai shouted. The crowd parted as Tai stepped forward. The dust around his feet seemed to rise with each step. His voice was low, but everyone heard. Fatai, you Dan Crossline. Fatai grinned. What you go do? Tay's fists clenched. You go find out now. Before anyone could blink, Tay charged. His shoulder slammed into Fatai's chest, sending the bigger boy stumbling backward. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Fatai roared and swung a heavy punch, but Tai ducked, hooked his leg, and swept him to the ground in one fluid motion. The fight turned into a whirlwind. Fatai grabbing, Tay blocking, both of them crashing into the dirt. Dust rose. Students screamed, some climbing onto benches to see better. Teachers were still running toward the scene, but by the time they arrived, Fatai was on the ground, coughing, and Tay was standing over him like a king defending his throne. Mr. Oho pushed through the crowd, face dark. Everybody inside now. But even as the students scattered, whispers started again. The lion Dan roar. Tay no be ordinary boy. And in the corner, the school's most feared gang, the Iron Squad, watched silently. Their leader, Big Dapo, smiling. That boy, we go need am, Dapo murmured. The school was buzzing like a beehive after the morning's fight. Students whispered in corners, teachers spoke in low tones, and even the principal's office door had been closed for hours. Nobody knew what was about to happen. Except maybe Taye. He sat at the back of the class, legs spread wide, tapping his pen against the desk with an irritating tick-tick-tick. The noise was like a mosquito's whine in the ears of his classmates, but nobody dared tell him to stop. The boy who could fight 10 people in the rain without breaking a sweat wasn't someone you casually asked for silence. Suddenly, the classroom door swung open. It wasn't Miss Funk. It wasn't any of the regular teachers. It was the principal himself, Mr. Oladipo, tall, bald, with glasses that made him look like an old hawk. Behind him stood the vice principal and 2 senior prefects, their faces stiff like soldiers reporting for duty. Taye Adekunle, the principal's voice carried across the room like thunder. Follow me, now. The class went silent. Even the wall clock seemed to stop ticking. Taye smirked, stood up slowly, and slung his bag over his shoulder, as if he were going for a casual stroll. Yes, sir, he said, with a fake politeness that made some students hide their laughter behind their notebooks. As he walked down the corridor, the whispers followed him like shadows. They say they're calling his parents. I heard they want to expel him. My cousin said the principal's brother is a retired soldier. Maybe they will use Kaboko. Inside the principal's office, the air was thick. Mr. Oladipo didn't speak immediately. He just stared at Taye for a long time, adjusting his glasses slowly. On the desk lay a stack of papers, complaint letters from teachers, witness reports from prefects, even a list of students Taye had allegedly bullied. Finally, the principal leaned forward. Taye, do you enjoy making this school fear you? Taye shrugged. I just mind my business. If people fear me, that's their problem. The principal slammed his palm on the table. That's enough. This is not a boxing ring. It's a school. You fight like a wild dog. You insult your teachers, and you treat your classmates like they are beneath you. Taye's smirk faded for the first time. He opened his mouth to speak, but the principal cut him off. I have called someone to deal with you, Mr. Oladipo said coldly. Taye's brow furrowed. Someone. At that moment, the office door opened again, and in walked a man, broad shoulders, scarred down his cheek, wearing a faded military uniform. His boots hit the floor with a heavy thud. Taye. The man's deep voice rumbled. So you're the small hurricane causing trouble here. Taye swallowed. For the first time that day, he didn't have a quick comeback. The principal folded his arms. Meet Sergeant Ajay. He will be your special mentor for the rest of the term. Sergeant Ajay stepped closer, his eyes never leaving Taye. I will teach you discipline. I will teach you respect. And if you think you can fight me, he leaned down, his face inches from Taye's. You will regret it. Taye clenched his fists, his pride warring with his fear. Around him, the air felt heavier. And then, the bell rang for break time. Students outside were laughing, running, playing, completely unaware that inside the principal's office, the unstoppable Taye had just met the immovable Sergeant Ajay. Taye's lips curled into a small grin. We'll see who regrets it. The sergeant's smile was slow, dangerous. Yes, we will.